learn a digital skill, and Mkipa is the place to be. I learned to laugh, dance, to equip myself, to grow, to become. I found family outside family. Your friends that will stick around for a long time. I experienced forgettable moments that will forever be cherished. Was it hard? Yes. Everything was one is challenging. But I found strength and resilience to keep going. Innkeeper, not only concerned about your destination, but your process. Skill up, stand up.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. Can anyone hear me, please? Good evening, once again. I want to welcome every one of you to the day two of this info session tagged How to Kickstart a Career in Tech and Become Globally Valuable. Thank you so much for joining us again today. Thank you for taking the time to join us today on the day two of this info session. And I'll be the moderator of tonight's session. My name is Funke Fulani. So for those of you that joined us yesterday, thank you so much. And if you are here today, thank you so much for joining us again today. And if you are new with us today, thank you for taking the time to join us today. So yesterday we started and we had two guest speakers. We had Aki Sola Dolapo and we also had Chidima Esmo, and we had two individuals below. They shared their experience for some to experience we had today. So for the two, we are going to be one people of them through front perspective of the year of our today. Also have daily sessions now for 5 to end this session. So please help me what you can do tomorrow. Also you can share the video to share also to start so
My name is Chima Esther Morando, and I'm a full stack web developer with experience in product design and UI UX. I am also the CEO of Diamond Heart Concept. I've worked with organizations to train prospective developers over the years. Always loved tech. I've always been involved in tech, but I started out as a hardware person. So I tried out learning to fix phones and laptops. I also tried out solar installation. The whole idea was just to find where I really fit in. So I did all this for a while. And I decided to check out software engineering, and it's been great ever since. My experience has been, it didn't start out smooth. There was a lot of struggle trying to understand the concept, trying to grasp the concept, and it wasn't exactly easy. Because it was what I wanted, I kept passion, getting materials, getting better, asking questions, and all. So that and inspired me to become an instructor, right? Because I felt my spirit was into others, on first on shows I went through, like um, from something you didn't do. Basically, not exactly what we have someone to watch and guide your steps. Yes, you have
Sorry, please, I can't hear you.
Can use the chat box file so I can know where to pick up from, please.
Hello.
Tech and become globally valuable. There is no age limit right here, and this intersection.
Sorry, please, the line is not clear. It's breaking.
Toyosi, you are complaining about the line. Okay, sorry about that. Dini Toyosi and everyone else out there, if you can hear me, please kindly make use of the chat box. So before we go on, before the first facilitator will come on board tonight, we have one of our fellow here. She's also here to give us, to share with us our tech experience. Her name is Jennifer. Jennifer, are you there? Jennifer, please, if you are there, kindly unmute.
The recording has stopped. This meeting is being recorded.
Good evening, Jennifer. Are you with us? Good evening, Jennifer. Jennifer, good evening. Can you hear me, Jennifer?
Good
Jennifer.
evening.
Okay, good to have you here, Jennifer. Hello, can you hear me properly?
Good evening, this is Latif.
Hello, Funke. Good evening.
Good evening, Jennifer.
Everyone. I'm Jennifer.
How are you doing
Yeah.
this evening, Jennifer?
Hello. Good. Can you hear me? Good evening. Oh, awesome. Good evening, Funke, everyone. Yes, I can hear you. Good. Yeah.
Good evening, hope you can hear me from this side.
Yes, we can hear you now. Sorry about that. We're having a network issue, so sorry about that. But can everyone hear me clearly now?
Oh, I can hear you clearly now.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Please, if anyone can hear me clearly again, please signify by using the chat box. But we are here to listen to Jennifer's experience before the facilitator comes on board tonight. Jennifer, please, if you are there, kindly unmute your mic so we can hear from you.
Thank you so much.
Good evening, Jennifer. How are you doing today?
Yes, I can.
I can hear you too.
Yes, I can. I'm
Jennifer.
excited to be here.
Okay, we're excited to have you as well.
Hi, Latif.
Okay.
Welcome.
Jennifer, kindly share your tech experience with everyone on board right now. We'd love to hear from you.
Good evening, everyone. Can we hear me? Hello, good evening, everyone.
Hello.
Good evening, Ms. Chidima. Good to have you here.
Yeah. It's also good to be here again. Okay, so I'm sure for those of us who were around yesterday, we shared a little bit of stuff about web development, right? So today I'll attempt to go more in depth into the process, the tools, and how you get to where you need to be. So basically, the web development course that we do here at Inkeeper is we handle the front end. Okay, so let's talk a little bit around web development, or should we say, let's just start with technology generally. So we hear a lot of things, a lot of words just flying around, web development. You hear things like data science, machine learning, and a whole lot of stuff, right? So the point is, there is so much to learn. And it's important for us to have, some sort of like guidance when we learn this. And he said something yesterday, and we heard from one of the fellows when he said mentorship is important, right? Because there's so much to learn. But one of the basic questions you need to ask yourself in this career path is, why do you really want this? Just as anything in life, I believe, you have to have a good reason, right? Why you are doing this. And because there are times that you really, really feel like you want to give up, right? But what keeps you going is your why. So your why has to be solid. Now, this is not me telling you that web development is difficult, because I'd already said yesterday, there are many misconceptions about web development. And one of them is that it's meant for super smart people, right? Well, what makes a person super smart? That's the question you need to ask yourself. What makes a person super smart? Basically, as long as you are willing to apply yourself, to learn, to grow, right? That's enough smartness to become, a developer or a tech person, right? The ability to apply yourself and constantly grow, because this space is constantly changing, as time goes on, it changes. Now, let's talk a little bit around technology generally. Maybe not the overview, but as much as possible, let's talk about, okay, so we have the web development, we have mobile app development, we have the data path. So I call it the data path because in data you have, a whole lot of stuff going on there. And then you also have the UI UX. Yeah, so let's just talk around these basic ones. So before we get to web development, career paths like data, right? Under data, you have data analytics, data engineering, data science, machine learning, reinforcement learning, deep learning, and a whole lot of stuff, right? And then if you wanted to go into UI UX, there's also a whole lot of stuff going on there, right? You have the interaction designers, you have the UX writers, right? And you have the design guys, the UI guys, right? So the point with technology is that every part you enter is like a pit of pits, right? So that's why it's important to choose a path that you want to go through. So when it comes to web, right, you have the front end, you have the back end, you have the front end, you have the back end, then you have the full stack guys, And then you also have the security guys, right? So who are the front end people? Basically, the interface you interact with as a user, that stuff you see at, right now you are making use of your Zoom, or let's take it to the browser, right? Because it's possible you're not watching your Zoom from the browser, you're watching it from a mobile phone, and it's an application. So we won't talk about mobile apps for now. Let's just talk about web. Now, that interface, when you interact with your browser, like your Facebook. So Facebook is a great example, like your Facebook. So that interface you interact with, they're actually people responsible for making sure that, the things like the buttons look blue, they are properly arranged in order. You have your navigation bar and, everything going on at the front. So the front end developers and the UI UX guys are responsible, right? So your ability to interact with the interface smoothly without any problems, right? On the user side, that's you are the user, or as some will call it, the client. So your ability to have a smooth experience is based on the ability of the developer to actually translate the design or the needs of the customer to what you look at. So you also have the backend guys. So essentially, when you sign up to use an application online, like you sign up, you log in. So at first, when you sign up, your details are stored somewhere. Hence, when you log back in, right, you can see that your name is there and certain information you entered when you were signing up. So when you log in, you have it returned back to you. So the backend guys are basically on most basic level responsible for making sure that that data gets sent to the back, something called the database, right? It's stored there so that when you make demands of it, it's returned to you. So the front end and the back end guys, they work together to make sure that data moves smoothly from the back to the front and the front to the back without having to break the application. So now where do the UI UX guys come in, or the product designers, right? So you have a problem, they speak with you, get down your requirements and stuff, and begin to look for ways to actually solve that problem. Now, I am talking about product designers because the whole thing, the whole stuff is quite interfaced with each other, right? One can't do without the other. And there are these guys that are full stack. I'm a full stack engineer, so I can handle the front and the back, and also a little bit of the UI UX. I said a little bit, actually a lot, but I just try to keep it simple, just enough to, don't get into the excessive pretty stuff, right? We leave that to the UI UX guys. But the whole idea is to give the customer a feel of what the product is like. So let's talk about the end-to-end process of development. So first of all, you meet with the client. That's the first thing first. You meet with the client. You try to understand the client's problem. So I am assuming that you are going to be responsible for everything because it's what I do, like the whole journey from the beginning to the end, and leading teams to get things done. So basically, most times you won't be working alone, you'll be working with a team of people, right? So first things first, you meet with the client, and then you have a sit down with them to get their business requirements. Okay, so a client tells you, I need an application that manages food ordering, like it's a catering service, and I need an application that will manage the whole process. So the next question you're asking, okay, so what do you want to be able to do on this application, or what do you want your users to be able to do on this application, right? So you get all those things down as you speak with them, right? And when you are done, you go back to your drawing board, to try and understand the journey. So from what the client has told you, okay, this is what I want to be able to do. This is what I want my users to be able to do. You need to learn to take notes. And so when you sit back down to look at it, you plan the journey. So he said, okay, so I want my users to be able to order food. I want my users to be able to pay for their order. I want my users to be able to, mark as received when they get the order. So what does that tell you? Okay, so the first thing you are looking at. Now, there's also something that you need to take into consideration, right? You need to remember that you were once a user. So usually when people start their development journey, they completely forget that, oh, I was once on the other side of the fence of the guys just using the application and not caring how the application came about. I try to use it, I don't care, right? But now, being a developer, you are on the other side, right? So how do you use an application to start with? Because I'm trying to let us see how uncomplicated the whole thing is, right? So first of all, when you come to an application, the first thing you do is you sign up. And for most part, whenever you sign up, you are most likely being led to the dashboard, right? So let's use the food app as an example. So I'm most likely going to get to the dashboard. Some persons will leave the, for the food ordering app, some persons will want to redirect their users to the menu page. So that means you need a menu page to actually show your users the different types of food that you have. And not just, your menu can't just be menu, right? You have to think, how am I going to split this menu? So we are in Nigeria, so you're thinking, okay, so I need to consider meals like swallow, beans, rice, different types of rice, white, jollof. So the question is, are you going to store them on the same page? Or are you going to store them in sections on the same page, or you're going to store them differently? So you decide how you want to do that, right? Now, sorry about that, give me a moment. Okay, so now when you decide, so what we're trying to do here is to build the user journey. So what that does for you is, it tells you how many pages this application is going to have. And as a full stack engineer, I can tell you that having that journey also tells me how I'm going to design my database. So depending on the information I'm going to receive from my user, how am I going to design the database to receive that, to also bring it back out when demand is laid on it, like not just designing the database, but how each of the tables are going to talk to each other. So that's another concept. So, but we are here to talk about the front end. So now when you get the user journey, the next thing you want to do is to sit down and make a paper wireframe, right? A wireframe of what you believe the application should look like, right? So after that, you then get on your Figma. So I'm still going to walk us through, the tools we use. The tools I use daily. So you get on your Figma to design these pages that you have made a wireframe of. Now, if you are working with people, when you draw up your wireframe, you need to speak with them. You need to show them, the wireframe, show them what it looks like. Maybe your boss, he needs to see and say, okay, I think I like what you have here. Or, oh, can you change that? Can you move that? Can you move this over here? Do you get? So the whole idea is, okay, so we agree, it works. You like my dummy, it's supposed to be like some sort of like a dummy or a sketch. So let's not use dummy, let's use a sketch. It's supposed to be like a sketch of the application itself. Now, when you have that sketch ready, all the stakeholders, that's the people involved, not necessarily the customer, right? I mean, your team, your team lead or your boss, right? So when they're good with the paper wireframe, then you settle down to use your Figma. So I do it directly. There are also companies where you just pass it on to the UI UX guys, right? So, but this is full end-to-end journey that I'm explaining. So now, when you have that paper wireframe down, it's time to translate to design. So the idea behind that design, so sometimes people start with a lo-fi. There are some projects that I will start with a lo-fi. I will ask if I'm working with my team, I will want them to start with a low fidelity. So lo-fi, low fidelity prototype. What that means is that, there are no images, there are really no text, but it wants to look like, it's still a wireframe, but more like digitally, it's digital, sorry, a digital wireframe. Do you get? So the idea is, do they really get the gist? So there are some end-to-end process that will take into consideration the low fidelity, but not all the time. I don't. So I just go straight to high fidelity. So, but before we start the high fidelity prototype, I need to have something called a design system, right? Things like my color, I need to choose my colors, my fonts. Okay, what fonts are we going to use in this application? What colors are we going to use in this application? How am I going to handle the text? Like your heading, that very big, large heading that you have, how are you going to handle the paragraph text? That's the normal text. That's not a heading, just your normal content text. How are you going to handle links? When users hover over the link, is something supposed to happen? So all of that, you build it up in design system, and then you can have things like your navigation bar, your footer, you just have all of that down. Okay, so after that, you then start your design. So the idea behind the design is this: you want to mimic the application itself, right? The most basic language, you want to mimic the application itself. So what you want to do is, when that is done, so what I mean by mimic, this time around, I am talking about the high fidelity wireframe. That means it's going to take into account the colors, the pictures, the images, everything. It's going to look exactly like what the application will look like when code has started. Right? When code has started, it's going to look exactly like that. So what's the idea behind doing that? Now, you need to understand that there are companies where you don't have to do this. There are companies where they already have design guys handling it. So, but I do the end-to-end process myself or with my team for most part, depending on the size of the project. If it's nothing serious, I'll do it myself. So the point is that when you design that, there are a couple of back and forth that is going to happen. Things like, oh, I don't like the color of the button. Maybe because you have to share now the high fidelity, you share with your customers, not just your boss or your team lead. If you're working alone, you have to share it with the customer. So what's the big idea behind that? Now, you want every back and forth that is going to happen on that design. You cannot start coding and you have someone telling you, oh, I don't like the color. Then you are going through how many, imagine that you've already had like 500 to 1,000 lines of code. You're now going through the lines of code to look for the color and everything, right? You don't want to do that. And you don't want, there's a kind of flow you want to have when you are already writing code. You just want to enjoy yourself, okay, so, because there's a lot of thinking to be done when it comes to the coding aspect. So to avoid all of the back and forth while you are trying to really, really think about things like logic, things like how am I going to make this button probably move to the center or move to the right or the left? So the time, that takes time. So you can't have someone coming to tell you, oh, I don't like the buttons and all of that, or I don't like this. So that's the whole idea behind the high fidelity wireframe. You want to make sure that there's an agreement there. Then when that is done, the next thing you want to do is to prototype it. Now, right, so the wireframe, what the high fidelity wireframe looks like is the UI, the interface, like what your users are going to see. Imagine your WhatsApp, designing WhatsApp first on, someone says, I want a chat application. You design it first, right? And the person says, okay, so can you put this stuff to the left? Can you move it to the right? And all of those stuff, right? So what is prototype? What the prototyping does is to now mimic the experience. So you do it in such a way that, oh, the person clicks on sign up. and it takes them to a sign up, it clicks on the sign up button, it takes them to a sign up form. They click on submit the form, it takes them to dashboard or wherever next you want it to go. Now, what's the idea behind Mimi? So you hear things like UI, UX, right? So UI, the interface, the UX, the experience, user experience. So you mimic the experience. So after you've done all of that, so the experience, the idea is that you didn't just mimic the UI, you mimicked the application. And so the only thing is that there's no code running it. It's not exactly functional, but it looks something like the real application. It acts like the real application. Now, when the prototype is done, everybody is happy, the whole back and forth has happened. It's now time to code. Or if you work at a large corporation, you just pass it on to the front-end developers. You get it, so the developers. Now, for me as a full stack engineer, when I'm done with the design, the next thing I'm thinking is, I need to design my database. Then I need to design, when I'm done with that, I need to then design the front end. So after designing the front end, then I can find a way to write the scripts to fetch data from the back to the front, right? To fetch the data from the back to the front. I design the database before I design the front end because I want to make sure that when I am done with the front end, I'll know that, oh, what's left of it is the how the scripts to fetch stuff. Now, when you work, so let's talk about the tools you will need for your front end. Now, someone may be wondering, so how do I keep track of all of this? So that's where the project management comes in. So you have things like Trello, and there's also project management with GitHub. You can manage the project with Trello, or you can manage it with GitHub. So what's going to be on the Trello? It's a project management system, right? What you want to do is, how do I put this now? You want to list out all the tasks that is going to happen. You want to break it down. Oh, so I have, for most part, the way I, structure the board, I have the design phase, of the project. I then have okay, first things first, I have the overview, the portion for overview. That's everything I'm going to do. Then everything I'm going to do is further broken down. So I have the design phase, I have the front end code phase, then the back end code phase, and there's the testing phase, and there's the deployment phase, and then the maintenance phase, where you get to maintain the application. Right, so when you get to, let's talk a bit about the front end. So for the front end, what are the tools you will need? So first you need, we'll talk about HTML, which gives structure. It defines the structure, things like, oh, this is a heading. Oh, this is paragraph. Oh, this is a link. So the HTML provides structure. Now, when you are done with that, you look at the CSS. Now, basically, you work in sections. So I can't get into all of that right now, but I'll just to give you a rough overview of everything. Usually, you just work in sections. So you design the navigation bar, like you draw the structure for the navigation bar. Then you have your CSS to actually design the navigation bar before you go on to the next layer. So what's the navigation bar? I believe, most of us will see that stuff at the top. You have the home, the about, the contact us. So it's usually called, for short, it's called navbar, right? And then I'm sure we must have observed, when you look at, when you come to the homepage of a site for the first time, at least in recent times, you see this very gigantic image with text at the top. So that is usually called the hero section. So there, from the business perspective, you have very few lines. It's usually, the text is usually, not every time, but usually it is placed to the left, and to the right, you see an image. So all of that is known as the hero section. So at that point, you really want to make sure that that very few words you put there, it's going to be very catchy. Now you already have the
the content guys or the UX writers to worry about that. But this is me assuming, you know, so this is Nigeria, funny as it sounds, this is Nigeria, and sometimes you have to wear the whole hat, right? The front-end art, the UI UX hat, and all of that. Like I said, it's not always like that. But one of the good, cool stuff about knowing, like having a hang of, not necessarily having a hang of everything, but understanding this end-to-end process, even if you don't get to do all of these processes, because you have an idea of these processes, you can actually effectively, you can be trusted to leading a team, at least to an extent, even as a beginner, you know, with so much. Now, back to the tools we need. So we just talked about HTML. We said HTML gives structure, right? The next thing we'll look at is the CSS. The CSS is basically to style. So CSS is used to affect the look of the site. Now, the idea behind learning HTML and CSS is that you definitely will not want to really write everything from scratch. It will depend on the kind of project. This is a very humongous project. You want to be using libraries, right? And hence, we'll talk about Bootstrap. Bootstrap, right? So what's Bootstrap? It's a library. So what's a library, right? So people, one of the things we do in programming is that we tend to want to abstract a lot of, you know, want to reduce the work size, the workload, right? Because if I were to sit down to design a navigation bar, it would take me a lot of time. So I could just look for a library, get the navigation bar, paste it in my code editor and edit it and replace it with the things that I need. Like, you know, maybe from usually when you copy from Bootstrap in navigation bar, you have to edit the logo. You have to edit the logo. But the point is that you can't edit these things if you don't have a solid idea of HTML and CSS. At least you can edit effectively if you don't have an idea of HTML and CSS. Now, what if you want the page to be interactive? Then you have JavaScript, which is the first programming language you write. So HTML, CSS, JavaScript, all three of them are known as the language of the web, popularly known as the language of the web. So HTML and CSS are usually not called programming languages. They are called, what's this now? Sorry, markup languages. They are called markup languages. So, but JavaScript is a programming language. So when you hear things like Bootstrap, Tailwind, they are HTML, CSS, and JavaScript libraries. Because things like your drop down in your navigation bar won't work effectively. Won't work effectively without the JavaScript. So JavaScript, what it does is that interactive, it makes, you know, when you see, when you come on a page, you notice that things are, you know, you can click on a button and you can click on a button, it does something. That's JavaScript is responsible. Now, as you move on, as you progress, you then have things like React, which are JavaScript libraries, right? You have Vue.js, which is a framework. So there's a difference between a library and a framework. So not to bore us, right? Basically, at Innkeeper, what we try to do, you know, for the training, what we try to do is that we take you through the end-to-end process. The end-to-end process, you know, starting from the business requirement, the setting up the project management board, how it is set up, you know, down to the getting the user journey and translating it to pages, that's the UI, and then, you know, prototyping it and then getting it ready for code, and then deployment. So you hear things like deployment means, in very basic terms, means making it available online for people to use, right? So that's basically an overview of the end-to-end process that we go through, right? Now, like I said yesterday, for those of us that were not around, you really don't need to be Albert Einstein to actually get it, right? It only takes your willingness to actually, do you really want it? And you should. Now, how do I put this now? So on a very, very basic level, right? Don't let the reason why you are not doing this be that it's too much for you, or be that you've not figured it out. I've met people who said, it's not for me. And today they are developers. People who didn't believe that they could do it. People who didn't even think that it was possible. I mean, when I started talking like this, and then some people were like, okay, so this whole thing looks complicated. But by the time they went through the training, they realized, oh, right. It's actually not that hard, right? Because you have guidance, you'll be guided through the process. You'll be guided through the process, so you have nothing to fear. So you are not expected to, when you're given an assignment, to score it all. No, it doesn't work that way. You make your attempt, and then you are corrected. You get it. So there's guidance for us and all. So thank you very much. I'm going to hand it back over to the program over to the host. Thank you for having me.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much, Chidima, for coming on. That is well appreciated. Does anyone have any question? If you have any question, please drop them so that Chidima can attend to them. If you have any question, drop them on the chat box. So I guess everyone is clear. No one has any question.
I have a question, please.
All right, please go ahead.
Please, after the internship, are we going to be opportune to work as a developer for you? Hello.
All right. Thank you for your question, Dev. Okay, so yeah, after the training, we do not promise or provide what's it called, job opportunities. So what we do is train you, but as part of being a fellow in Innkeeper, once you get trained, as much as possible, when we get opportunities, we present them to our fellows, our trainees. So you're not coming to train with the hope that we are promising you a job. You're coming to train to upskill yourself so that when there are opportunities available, right, you're a right fit for that job. Okay? I hope that answered your question.
Yes, thank you very much.
All right.
Okay, good evening.
Good evening.
Okay, first of all, the speaker, I really liked your presentation. It was nice. It was very, you made it easy to understand. So my question is, can you hear me?
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay, so I've started learning front end. I've gone through with HTML, CSS, and I'm on JavaScript right now. So I was thinking of also learning UI along with the web development I'm learning. So I'm wondering whether it's advisable to do that, or I should just focus on the web development, finish learning it, and then move on to UI. But I'm at home right now, and I feel like UI is something I can learn something I can grasp more, because I was into design at some point, graphics design. So I feel like something I can learn and maybe start earning with it, and then also be learning my web development. So that is the question.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much. I'm sorry, what's your name?
Ogechi.
Oh, Ogechi. Good evening. Good evening. Yeah. Yes. So the design aspect of it, right? The reason why I had to pick it up was because I realized that it's a core concept of, like, the core part of the development process, right? And basically, I actually didn't like the way my designs were looking. They were horrible, right? I knew how to code, but I didn't like it at all, right? So so I had to work on it. So basically, UI UX is something that grows over time. Do you understand? Just about also anything that you are trying to learn, right? No, don't leave the web development. Don't leave the your web development learning process. You know, so they're going to say UI UX is very broad. Like I said, I said UI. Yeah, I said interaction designers, UX writers. We have UX researchers, because you'd have to know your users. You have to research. Be sure you know what their pain points are and stuff. So these are some of the things I learned. I took the whole training, right? The whole UI UX training. But as a developer, I just took what was, when I did it, I like, no, I'm still the code person. Like UI UX is definitely not my thing, right? So I just picked what I needed and I just moved on. Since I've already decided that I want to be the code person, to write code, not, design, just design. I want to translate to code. So yes, you learn it as a part of, that's if you want to be a freelancer, right?
Yes, that's my plan.
Yes, so yes, that's why if you're a freelancer, even if you don't get to do it yourself, at least you know what you're expecting from the person that is going to do it. You can't just give me any designs. The font has to look great, the sizing of the font, everything has to look exactly and very neat. Do you understand? So it's a part of it. So leaving the web dev so that you can learn UI UX, it really doesn't work. So that's why I explained our process at Innkeeper, right? And thankfully we have a training coming up. So that's why I explained. So at the training, you see the end-to-end process, how the UI UX plays into your job as a developer. I don't know if you understand. So what the training helps you do is that you get what you need. Do you understand? Because you're going to learn a lot of stuff. And while the training is going on, I'll have that information keep going out. That this and this and this is what you need, but just know that these other guys are there in case you need them, depending on your use case. I don't know if I answered your question.
Okay, yes, you answered part of it, but
okay.
I didn't say I was going to leave web development. I wasn't going to leave. I said, can I learn it along? Like, can I learn it by the side? That's what I'm trying to say.
Oh, sorry. Yes, you can. Just know. So that's where guidance comes in. That's where guidance comes in. Yes. So that you know what you don't need. You understand? You know what you don't need, what you need and what you don't need, because it's a whole pit out there. Like I said, every career path you take in programming or in the tech space generally, every career path is a pit of pits. Like it just keeps going deep and deep and deep like that. So what you don't want to do is get lost, right? So you just want to know enough for what you want to do and then move on. Do you get? Hence where guidance comes in.
Okay.
Did I answer the question?
Yes, thank you.
Yes, okay. Thank you. You're welcome. Olamide, back to you.
All right, thank you so much, Chidima. Okay, we have Oge raising up in hand, so please go ahead to ask the question. After Oge, Adewale can take over. Oge, are you there?
Yeah, yes, I'm the one that asked the question now. She has replied me already.
Oh, okay. So Adewale, please go ahead with your question. Adewale, are you there?
Yeah, good evening.
All right, good evening. Please go ahead.
My question is, for we that we don't even have any knowledge about front end, all those stuff at all. So, like, how do we go about it? That's one. Secondly, is there any specification for the system that we are going to use, like laptop that we can use, or the equipment to use? Maybe I should put it that way. Thank you.
Okay, yes. So, sorry, what? You are Adewale, right?
Yes.
Okay, good evening. Yeah, so your first question, you said, I was listening, but I wanted to be sure I understood the question before I answered it. You said, what of, people that don't have knowledge about it, how are they going to go about it, right?
Exactly.
Okay, so one of my favorite set of students, not like I am beefing the experienced people, but one of my favorite set of students that it's something I major in is training beginners, pure beginners, like have no knowledge about it. It's always very interesting to watch them grow from, oh, I have no knowledge about it, to wow, I am doing big things now. Do you get that? There's that joy it gives as a trainer, as a teacher, right? When you see someone who didn't believe that they could do it, right? To someone who like, wow, I can really do this. This is amazing. Like, we've had students like that, students who didn't think, a lot of them, we actually rarely have experienced people. Most of our students are stark, complete beginners. So it's always a pleasure to have a beginner. It's beautiful. It's a wonder to watch how you just, how a beginner just morphs and transforms into something amazing, right? Then your second question was about system specifications, right?
Yes.
Yes, so yes, it's a very good and important question to ask, is system specification. So different career paths would require different, system specs. I mean, the guys doing 3D animation, they have their system specs. So, but for development, you can start out with a 4 gig RAM, even though it's just advisable and smart to get an 8 gig RAM. An 8 gig RAM, 500 gig hard drive, or preferably maybe, if you can afford an SSD, a system that comes with the SSD is actually more expensive. You can go for maybe 256 gig of SSD, right? Together with your 8 gig RAM, or you can just go with 8 gig RAM and 500 gig or 1 terabyte hard drive. That's HDD. So you have the SDD, you have the HDD. Right, so that on a very basic level, that is, what you want to use. And, for the guys who might be interested in, oh, okay, so UI, UX, though it's not necessary, but we can account for how far vision is going to go. Maybe eventually you want to start using stuff like Blender. I don't know how far you intend to go. Hello? Sorry, someone saying something? Okay, yeah, so that's a different career path, different system specs. So basically for this training, 8 gig RAM and 500 gig is okay, but if you see 4 gig, it's okay, you can start with that and upgrade. So when you are going for a 4 gig RAM system, you should make sure that the system is going to be upgradable. So yes, so I don't know if I answered all your questions.
Yes, yeah, you've answered.
Oh, thank you. Okay, Lamide, over to you.
Very fantastic. Victor, please go ahead with your question. Hello, Victor, are you there?
Okay, yeah, I can hear you. Yeah, good evening. This is my first time here, so I want to know more about your training, the section, the date, the time, just everything involved about the training. When likely it's about to begin, yeah, because I'm a novice here, so I need to know this information too, yeah.
Oh, okay, so yes, the training is going to happen sometime this month, but we are saving the information till the end of the, till the close of the meeting, okay? So that we can also give room for other speakers who are coming to talk. All right, so you will get all of this information, but please be patient, okay?
All right, thank you.
All right. Okay, so is that all the questions that we have? All right, good. So yes, we're going to be bringing Raphael on board at the moment. He's one of the INKIPA fellow, and he's also currently doing well. Hello, Raphael, are you there? Raphael, are you there?
Hello, good evening.
Good evening, Raphael. How are you today? Yes, of course, I can hear you. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you very much.
All right.
Hello, Ms. Chidima.
So good to have you on board. We're excited to hear your story. So please go ahead to share your story with us.
Oh, thank you very much for the opportunity. Pardon me, the camera of my phone is bad. That's why you're having that blue effect. But I got into learning web development as a novice. I actually had no idea about web development. But one of the things that prompted me into learning web development was because of the opportunity. I got a message from someone concerning LSTCF and CSCDF collaboration to help people skill up in tech.
Hello, Raphael, are you there?
Yeah, can you hear me? You muted me.
Oh, okay. So sorry about that. Please go ahead.
All right. So along the line, actually was learning digital marketing. I am a digital marketer, and once or twice come across this thing concerning writing HTML, and out of curiosity, I filled in for web development. Not like it was exactly what I came to INKIPA for. On getting there, I took the challenge upon myself to go for it and learn it. And I still remember the first time Ms. Chidima, came speaking about it. I'm someone that has this ever willing to learn attitude. And I looked forward to learning. And it was a blessing in disguise. It has been a blessing in disguise. I've been teaching in about 7 months plus when I learned, and the knowledge I've gotten because of myself, the passion to learn. I kept developing in what Chidima taught us: HTML, CSS, JavaScript. I took several courses on JavaScript to improve my JavaScript very well, Bootstrap. And right now, I'm more of even a product designer. I'm right now looking at my system, designing products for people. It's been fun. So one thing I want to say is INKIPA helped me a lot because of the environment they created. It was a learning environment. Everybody communicated as if they were just one big family. There was no fear of, hey, you're a beginner and hey, I'm an expert, so be there while I'm here. Everybody flowed together in my course. And INKIPA made that happen. There was this environment that even if you don't want to learn, even if you don't have a learning spirit, I meant to say, you'll be inquisitive to learn. And so I would advise those coming on board to, just feel the mentality that I can't do it or things like that. One of the things I kept telling myself is that as long as I can think, I will be able to code. And that is also what I've advised those I've taught this past few months. As far as you can think it, you can code it. As far as you can think it, you can program it. As far as you can wake up in the morning and say, this is the clothes I'm wearing, and this is where I'm going to today, within this specific amount of time. You can write it as code. You can build it. You can turn it into a product, whether a website or a web application or what have you. So, and for those who are feeling like, oh, I'm not good in mathematics or I don't know. I think that's one of the fears people also have, that they're not good in mathematics. I want you to know that it's not arithmetic mathematics you meet in this field, though it may be there. But as far as it can be logical, as far as you can think, you'll be able to do it and exceed very well. I started as a novice, pure stack. I still remember I and my friend jubilating when we wrote our first HTML button. It was just a tag we wrote. That is the opening button tag, get started in between, then the closing HTML tag. And we celebrated that, yay! We never knew that it was a journey. And honestly, it has been fun. So right now, I'm working towards becoming a full-stack developer. I've got courses I'm enrolled on. I also have courses I'm attending in UX UI design. So one of the basic things, fundamental things you want to have is the ever-learning serious spirit. Over to you, Olamide. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Raphael. That was very insightful. Thank you for taking our time to share your story with us. Jennifer, are you online?
Hello. Hi, everybody. Good evening.
Yeah. So yeah, please go ahead, share a story with us. We are excited to learn from you as well. So you have the
I'm so excited. Thank you so much, Olamide. I'm so excited to be here. I'm super grateful for this opportunity. Thank you, Innkeeper, and your partner. So my name is Jennifer Mbonu, and I am a developer at a software development and IT consulting firm. Prior to being a developer or a programmer, I was writing content, web content for websites. I was writing and editing website content for different clients across Africa. Those clients used WordPress, so I would edit their product description, and that just spurred my interest in web development. I wanted to do more. At the time, I did not know anything about databases, front end, back end, what have you. I did not even know there was a difference between WordPress and your HTML, CSS, JavaScript. I just thought web development was WordPress because that's what I was used to, and I wanted to know more. But what was interesting for me was, I think at the time I was enrolled for different courses. I wanted to do better with my WordPress. I wanted to do better because I was not just writing content. I was managing emails. I was managing social media accounts. So I wanted to do more in, my job. And that opened this avenue of always learning and, upskilling. And when I decided that, okay, instead of going the route of digital marketing and content marketing, I wanted to go through web development. I started looking for courses on Udemy, Coursera. I was just searching for where I can get not just the information I needed, but where I can get like a community of people that would guide me, because I noticed that if there was not like a guiding hand, it was easy to just get lost in the whole space, in the whole field of web development. So I think at the time I saw the opportunity to learn web development with Innkeeper, and then I jumped on it. At the time, I wanted, because I was still working, I wanted something that would most likely be like an online thing. So at first, oh, no, this is not what I wanted. But, going for the first interview, the second interview, and then actually starting the program, it just opened my eyes to so many things. This is me coming from, writing websites, content for websites, and even from a biological background, because I studied cell biology and genetics, and then coming down to doing web development. They taught us things like hardware, software, things like understanding your internet, little things that you think do not make sense, but it just help open our eyes like, okay, this is why we're doing this. This is why we are using HTML. This is what a document looks like. This is what your web pages look like. This is how to, navigate little short codes, and then those other, I would say, tools that would need in our web development journey. And that just made sense to me. I wanted to stay. I wanted to be part of this kind of community that would take me, further in my journey. And it has been, I would say it has been progressive. After learning, or the learning never stops, just as Rafa has said. While learning, and I've been opportunity to work with clients. I'm currently learning different stack to becoming a full stack developer. And it has not been easy, but it's been worthwhile so far. Yeah, and so my advice to anyone that wants to learn web development is just keep an open mind. It doesn't matter where you're coming from. There's nobody that cannot learn how to code. Everybody, so far, this is what you've accepted, like you've decided to doing. I don't think it's impossible. You just have to apply yourself to the process. And yeah, the sky would definitely not be the limit. Thank you so much, Olamide.
Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you for taking your time to share your story and speak with us. So inspiring. And I hope that everyone on the call was able to pick one or two things. And the major things that they kept emphasizing is the fact that you have to apply yourself to the process. And yeah, so thank you so much, Jennifer. Funke, are you on the call, please? Funke, are you on the call?
Yes, Olamide, I'm with you.
All right, please, over to you.
All right, thank you so much, Olamide. And thank you once again, Ms. Chidima, for that information. So to come on board right now, I'll call on Mr. Damilola Obidairo. Mr. Damilola, please, are you there?
Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure and an honor to meet you. I see at the time we had about 45 people on the call. I'm excited that quite a number of us are interested in these conversations. I'm going to speak a little bit from a bird's eye view. I'm looking at what is going on in our environment today. We all know what's happening to dollars versus naira. We all know what is happening to inflation, not just in Nigeria, but globally. We all know that the world of work is going to change. So regardless of what you studied in school, I think it's a no-brainer right now to tell anybody that like Jennifer that studied cell biology, of the number of people that studied cell biology school today and that we graduate, if 10% of them actually practice that course, we are very fortunate. Because the opportunities are not just there.
They use my hotspot, so just send it, then I'll check later.
All right, the opportunity right now that is evolving is in tech, and that is where anyone who is smart enough to read the times knows that you have to find a spot. One of the things we established yesterday is that you do not there are different ways to go about it, but web development, software engineering is one of the primary ways to get into tech. A very big thank you to all the alumni, the Inkeeper fellows that were on the call, and a very big special thank you to the lead facilitator for software engineering at Inkeeper, Chidima. Our testimonies are everywhere, and we thank you for the great work that you do. For everyone that is listening, if you are yet to find a way to plug yourself in, The best time to have, done this was some time ago. The next best time is now. I encourage you to find a way to ensure you get on this train and plug yourself in to ensure that you are able to access opportunities. And before I leave, just an additional information to what one of the listeners in today's info session asked. He asked a question around if Inkeeper was going to provide jobs. While Olamide was spot on by explaining that Inkeeper makes no promise, because it's a very, very careful thing. It's an integrity issue for us to make promises that we are not in control to keep. But there are things that Inkeeper also does. You also get an opportunity to get some support in terms of your employability. Some advice around your CV, cleaning up your CV, cleaning up your LinkedIn, call it LinkedIn optimization. Clean up your soft skill. You also get an opportunity to learn some entrepreneurship, business pitching, which also impacts your presentation skills. And then the whole idea is to get you set so that when the opportunity finds you, you are also able to take the opportunities yourself. At the end of the training, if you require a letter of reference just to introduce you that you're from Inkeeper, you can have that letter. And then most important information I will give you is that Inkeeper receives, because of the nature of what we do, we receive requests from entrepreneurs, from employers from time to time. And then it's most of the time we're unable to fully meet this request, that we even have to look outside. Because sometimes we are already out of students. We've exhausted all the students that we have that are qualified for such roles. So it's all together a good place to be. Recently, about 3 months ago, LinkedIn also offered us, was able to provision us as an institution. So meaning that even on your LinkedIn, once you're done, once you even start the training, you can put it there as one educational institution that you're with. And then it automatically stays on your LinkedIn as one of your educational achievements. So altogether, my conversation here is to convince you that whatever it takes, whatever it costs you financially, whatever it costs you in terms of your energy and your time that you invest into this, you need to see how it plays out for you and how it works for you. For those who will take a decision, I know that the Inkeeper team will have a special offer for those who are on the call. Once that offer is out and you take advantage of it, to look forward to meeting you. I represent Aidgear. Aidgear is a partner to Inkeeper, and Aidgear is a venture studio that provides the entrepreneurial and the incubation support for those who may also even have business ideas while they are doing the training and they may want to start a startup. We work hand in hand. We co-found startups in partnership with some of our beneficiaries, and we have some testimonials to that also already. And we'll be glad to have you in the hub learning. So look forward to meeting some of you in person sometime soon. Thank you very much, Funke.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dami. Thank you. To all the Inkeeper fellows that shared their experience today, thank you so much, Raphael and Jennifer. And thank you, Ms. Chidima, for that insightful session. Thank you once again. And to everyone that joined on today's call, thank you for taking the time out to join on today's call. Remember, this continues tomorrow, same time by 8 p.m. And we're going to have another facilitator to put us through another tech course. So remember to join, and also tell your friends and family, people that are interested in taking a tech course. And if you have any further information, please kindly contact Inkeeper on this social media platform. On Instagram, the handle is inkeeper.work__. inkipar.work__. And on LinkedIn, the handle is inkipar.work. On LinkedIn, the handle is inkipar.work. On Twitter, the handle is inkipar.work. Inkipar.work is the same handle as the LinkedIn social media account. The Instagram page is inkipar.work.com. For the tech course tomorrow, you are going to have a professional. She will be talking about UI, UX. So please, once again, remember to join us tomorrow and also share this information, this info session with people out there that are ready to take up a tech course. Olamide, please, are you still there?
Yes, I am. Thank you, Funke. All right, good evening, everyone. So thank you once again for joining this information session, and I hope that it was worth your time. So like Mr. Dami stated earlier, I'm going to be dropping the link to the form for everyone who is interested. So the first 5 people who indicate interest, right, get a 20% discount. So for UI UX, the training fee goes for 150,000 naira. For web development, the training fee goes for 200,000 naira rather. For digital marketing, the training fee goes for 100,000 naira. For data analysis, the training fee is 150,000 naira. And then for customer experience, it's 100,000 naira. So for the first 5 people who indicate interest and shows commitment to pay within 24 hours, would get the discount as well. So please do well to take advantage of it. The world is going digital, the world is going tech, and you don't want to miss out on this opportunity. The next cohort is going to be happening by August 15. Right, so registration has started already. So please ensure that you take advantage of this opportunity, and that for those who register, we'll reach out to them within the next 24 hours. So thank you. Funke, are you there?
Yes, I'm here, Olamide.
Yes, please, you can take over. Yeah.
All right, thank you once again, and bye for now. Remember to join us tomorrow, same time.
All right, bye.
All right, thanks so much. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.
Good night.